And recording is in progress, and we're all here. And it's 13 hours, says my other computer. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadama Dadhati Svapadantikam. Wait. Something just told me something. Oh, I guess it's okay. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditangscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vancha kalpa he Krishna karana sindhu dinabandho jagatpate gopesha gopika kanta radha Kanta namostute tapta kanchana gaurangi radhe vrindavaneshvari rishabhanu sute devi pranamami hari priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, Saturday Sanga. Sanga. Ga means to go and sam means together, going together. And here we all are, despite not being together in the same physical place, we can be together in an electronic place, a digital place. And some of us can even be moving at the same time. I see Rajaduta Gopal and Amrita Lahari are on their way to North Poland. I forgot now, did we? I don't think we did announce your change of identity, did we? No, okay. We will do this later because there will be more devotees. Devotees join sometimes later. And yeah, welcome to all of you again. My apologies for last Saturday. Last Saturday was 30 years of anniversary for the installation of Shishi Panchatattva in New Shantipur. And just at exactly the same time, we would be having our Sanga. They asked me to participate in the Abhishek of Panchatattva. And so that's what I did. Yeah, hard to be in two places at once, doing two different things. So I chose to do that instead. And we all survived. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading and singing a song by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Kalyana Kalpataru, verse, song number 10, the first part, Upadesa, instructions. And we will go through this song. Then we'll see if there's any show and tell. We were going to have a group of devotees singing this song in Slovenia. Alas, that had to be canceled because devotees unfortunately fell sick, apparently not with COVID, so at least that, but hopefully another time they can do this. So we're going to have to settle with my attempt to sing. And then, yeah, show and tell if there's anyone. Then we have a question I've been asked to discuss from Kavi Chandra. And anyway, and oh, maybe we'll do Mana Shiksha from Raghunath Das, one verse. Let's see. And then I have idea that we open up what is actually a huge topic. And this will be a little experimental. We'll see how we go with it, see how you feel about it. Vaishnava Hermeneutics. And in any case, I think we won't go beyond more than an introduction of that topic. But again, we'll see how that goes. Okay. Mana re. Mana re. Let me see one thing. Okay, we don't have with us today our Bengali experts, Gopik Tunga Vidya and Devashri Radhika. So we'll stumble through as best we can. Manare Keno Koro vidyar gaurava smrti-sastra byakarana nana-bhasa-alocana brddhi kori jaser saurabha. Oh mind, why do you give such importance to mundane knowledge? Your discussion and deliberation on the smriti scriptures, various languages and grammar certainly increases the sweet, fragrant aroma of your own material reputation, name, and fame. I think there's a bit of sarcasm there. Okay, so vidyar gaurava. Vidya, of course, means knowledge. And it's kind of always interchangeable, not always, I don't know, interchangeable with the word jnana, but my sense of vidya is it's associated more with skills and procedures, but it also has a sense of just knowledge, broadly speaking. And gaurava, importance, so the importance of vidya, vidyar, gaurava. Keno, why? Now, I often speak about this, but there's the mind, there's the intelligence, mana and buddhi, and one of the ways we can activate our intelligence, our buddhi, is with questions. And here's an example of this. Why? Why are you doing? Why do you think like this? Why do you? So it's the intelligence asking the mind. In this case, why do you regard this mundane knowledge with such importance? Koro is to do. So why do you make so important this knowledge? Smrti-sastra, byakarana, nana-bhasa-alocana, brddhi, kori, jaser, saurabha. Jaser, jasha, we have this in our Guru Puja song. The last line, ebe jasha gushuk tribhuvan. Your fame, jasha, yasha in Sanskrit, is spread. Actually, that might be the imperative. Let it be spread, gushuk. Let it be voiced, gushuk, tribhuvana, in the three worlds. So here, jaser, saurabha, name and fame, or fame's fame, okay, saurabha, like saurabhi, surabhi. Rabha means fragrance, and surabha means good fragrance, nice smelling. So the the nice smell of fame. Brddhi kore, brddhi means expanding. So smrti-sastra, there's shruti and there's smriti, but smriti especially can refer to like dharma shastra. It's inclusive of many things. It depends on the context. Byakarana means grammar, or just more broadly languages. Nana-bhasa-alocana. The bhasas, the commentaries, various commentaries. Nana-bhasa-alocana. And alocana is seeing. Otherwise, it would have to be alocana, which would be not seeing. Okay, kintu, dekho cinta kori, jodi na bhajile hari, bidya taba kevala rauraba, krsna-prati anurakti, she bhajile janme bhakti, vidya hote taha ashambhava. But just look here and consider this for your judgment. Consider is cinta kori. If you have not worshipped Lord Hari, jadi jodi na bhajile Hari. If you have not worshipped Lord Hari, then all of your so-called knowledge, bidya, taba, your knowledge, kevala, rauraba, is simply hell. Kevala is only, rauraba is hell, simply hell. True devotional service, Krishna proti anurakti, actually takes its birth. Let's see, she bhajile janme bhakti, from attraction and affection for Krishna. Okay, Krishna proti anurakti is attraction and affection, anurakti. Proti, toward, we can say, toward Krishna. She bhajile, its very seed, janme, is in the birth of bhakti. Janme, I think, is locative, is in the birth of bhakti. Such a seed is impossible to get by the cultivation of ordinary worldly knowledge. Vidya hote, which means hoite, which means from, coming from, being from. Out of vidya taha asambhava, that is asambhava, not possible. Vidyar marjantar kabu kabu apokar jagotete kori anubhava je vidyar alocane krsna-rati spure mone tahari adara jano shava. I feel that the hair-splitting scrutiny of mundane knowledge, here I guess marjana is scrutiny. Marjana means cleaning, is actually harmful, apokar. Jagatete kori anubhava. This is my experience, anubhava. On the other hand, however, everyone will appreciate the cultivation of that transcendental knowledge. Vidyar alocane, in this case, cultivation, but looking or regarding, paying attention to that knowledge, je vidyar alocane, krsna-rati spure mone. That transcendental knowledge which awakens love, krsna-rati, and attachment for Krishna within the mind. Tahari adara jano shaba. All people, jana shaba, all people. Tahari adara. I don't know this adara. Anyway, bhakti badha joha hote she vidyar mastakete paragata koro akaitava saraswati krsna-priya krsna-bhakti tarhiya binoder se boibhava. Among all the obstacles to devotion, so bhakti badha and jaha, among which hoite, this mundane knowledge is certainly the foremost. She vidyar mastakete. You must sincerely kick it out. Paragata koro. Akaitava, sincerely. So kaitava means cheating. and akaitava, not cheating. So sincerely kick it out. Padagata koro. You must sincerely kick it out to your mind, for the real understanding is that Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, is very dear to Lord Krishna, Saraswati krsna-priya. And devotion to him, Krishna-bhakti, is her very heart. Tara hiya. Hiya means heart. This very devotion is indeed the sanctifying grace of Bhaktivinoda. Vinoder she Vaibhava. Now, this translation is of the last thing. It's a little ambiguous. This very devotion is indeed the sanctifying grace of Bhaktivinoda. It sounds like by the grace of Bhaktivinoda, there is this sanctifying grace. I think it's not meant like that. I think it's the other way around, that he feels blessed. This vaibhava, this sanctification perhaps, is there experienced by Vinoda, Bhaktivinoda. Okay. Let's make music with our little music box. Okay. Oops. We tried we had this harmonium fixed some weeks ago, but it's showing its age again. What to do? Manare Keno, Koro, vidyar, gaurava. Manare Keno, Koro, vidyar, gaurava. Smrti-sastra byakarana nana-bhasa-alocana. Smrti-sastra byakarana nana-bhasa-alocana. Brddhi kori jaser saurabha. Vidya brddha kori jaser saurabha. Kintu dekho cinta kori jodi na bhajile hari. Kintu dekho cinta kori jodi na bhajile hari. Vidya taba kevala rauraba. Vidya taba kevala rauraba. Krishna prati anurakti sebije janme bhakti. Krishna prati anurakti shebiche janma bhakti vidya hote taha asam bhava vidya hote taba asam bhava vidyar marjana tara kabu kabu apakara vidyar marjana tar kabu kabu apakara jagate te kori anu jagate te kori anu je vidyar alocane krsna-rati spure mone je vidyar alocane krsna-rati spure mone tahari adara jano shava tahari adara jano shava bhakti badha jaha hoite se vidyar mastakete bhakti badha jaha hote se vidyar mastakete padaghata koro akaitava padagata koro akaitava Saraswati krsna-priya krsna-bhakti tarahiya Saraswati krsna-priya krsna-bhakti tarahiya Vinod hai sheshe bhai baba Vinode sheshe bhai baba Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo. Hare Krishna. This is a unpredictable harmonium. So let's see now. I wanted to go back just before we proceed to our previous song. I think it's nice we try to remember. This is 2 weeks ago. After all, it's a prayer to the mind, and one of the functions of the mind is memory. I think memory is also a function of intelligence, but in any case, you may remember that the previous song is about caste consciousness. And we talked about how this may not feel like something relevant to us in the West. But if we think more about it, we may become aware that there is caste consciousness. It may not come quite in the same form as it does in India, but it may be there. We have feelings of identifying with certain, not necessarily caste, but class. It can be especially economic class. It can be in relation to other things, culture, language. Some people speak, with certain accents and others with other accents. Probably it's true everywhere, but I'm just aware from England, which has been, at least in the past, and certainly to a large extent today, been very class conscious. And one way of identifying someone's class was by their language, by their accent, how they spoke. Anyway, Bhaktivinoda Thakura is saying, all of that is not going to help you at the time of death. And when we come into Krishna's presence, he's not going to care one bit about this. And you may remember there was this analogy given in the fourth verse of a poor salesman of ginger, that he's a very insignificant fellow, but he thinks he's somebody special. And when a big ship comes into the harbor, he goes to the harbor and he starts talking with all the people around the harbor. So, what's going on here? What is this shipment? How many tons? What is the price? Blah, blah, blah. He goes on and on. And then somebody asks him, who are you anyway? Oh, I just sell ginger in the market. Anyway, so it seems that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is one after another in the different verses. He's raising the challenge to his mind of all the different sorts of things that one might be proud of. Prabhupada says, quoting the English expression, even the pauper, the beggar, is proud of his penny. And so he's going through all of these. One may be proud of learning. One may be proud of one's so-called caste. And then going back further, one may be proud of Brahman realization, for example, and so on. So Bhaktivinoda's saying whatever it is we're proud of, it's not going to help us with Krishna Bhakti. At the end of today's song, Saraswati krsna-priya krsna-bhakti tarhiya vinoder she. Saraswati is a devotee of Krishna. Krishna Bhakti is in her heart. So to be aware of that is to turn one's attention to the purpose of knowledge, the purpose of vidya or jnana, which is, of course, the glorification and cultivation, glorification of the Lord, the cultivation of love and affection for the Lord and all of his, we can say all of his creation. And speaking of Saraswati, Pandava has a question, I see here. We may wonder who is blessing in present day scientists, Goddess Saraswati or the Lord himself, or who? Yeah, indeed. I really hesitate to generalize. We like to talk about the scientists as if they all think exactly the same, when the reality is quite different. A survey has been done years ago. I read an article about it, that research was done on different scientists' theological inclinations or lack thereof. And an interesting point came out that, and I don't remember the numbers, but what we in English generally call the hard sciences, meaning physics, chemistry, maybe biology, like that, as opposed to the softer sciences, especially sociology and psychology. Anyway, the hard scientists tended there tended to be a higher percentage, a significantly higher percentage of theists among them than among the sociologists and psychologists. One might think, it would be the opposite, but no. Okay, Rasudari Hari is suggesting that Durga is giving the inspiration to scientists. Could be to many scientists, Durga. And Sita Sundari is asking, please say something about one feeling not proud of a particular talent we may have, but perhaps transforming it into feeling grateful for it toward Krishna having given it to us to be used in his service and to help others connect with him. Yeah, I think you've made the essential point already in your question. That whatever Krishna gives us, we can, rather than be proud of it, we can be grateful for it. Specifically because why would Krishna give it to us unless it's for that purpose, that we can use it in his service, for his glorification, for helping others connect with him. So we can turn everything into a favorable light. Yeah, because as the Bengali saying goes from Krishnadas Kaviraj, Krishna Surya Sam, Maya hoy andakar, Jahan Krishna tahan nahi Maya radikar. Krishna's like the sun, Maya is like darkness. Where there is Krishna, there is no Maya, just as where there is light, there is no darkness. But the light and the dark are right next to each other. We have to turn in the direction. It's not very far away from the dark if we're not careful. The pride that we may have, which turns us away from Krishna, that danger is there so long as we don't turn around and see the same thing as a blessing for Krishna. In other words, it's not about artificially renouncing something that Krishna's given us. Krishna gives, Krishna takes away, and that is how it works. But while we have something, we gratefully use it in his service for Krishna. It can be for helping others to connect with Krishna. Sugopi adds that Durga Devi, the goddess of power, is worshipped mostly by Kshatriyas. Yeah, that's interesting because we often see images of Durga Devi with many arms and hands, and she's holding all these weapons in her arms and hands. And it's also pointed out that in her form as Durga, although we usually, in some sense, we associate her with Shiva, but in a more specific sense, Durga is by herself. She functions, you can say, independently. That's a kind of maybe too general statement. I'm sure there are pastimes of Durga and Shiva, especially in the Tantra side of things. But in that sense that she is associated with and worshipped by the Kshatriyas, there's a sense of her being, her by herself being very powerful. So the Kshatriyas worship Durga in order to be blessed by her to have, to receive power. Kshatriyas want power. Oh, we're getting lots of comments today. Raja Lilavati is saying, regarding the last song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he sings that all the sinners are in the same position when they come to Yamaraj, regardless of caste. Indeed. Puranas you mentioned state that Brahmanas are punished more mildly. Shouldn't Brahmanas be punished more since they should know better? Yeah, that's an interesting point. And you brought this up in another message to me that shouldn't the Brahmanas who know better be punished more? We talked about that. And I was thinking, well, yes, in some sense, because they know more. But one then might say, well, the Brahmins are more, theoretically at least, they're more sensitive, and therefore they may more easily recognize their fault. But anyway, that's, I won't try to go anywhere with that, but I did read in an article giving an overview of the notion of karma in Indian tradition, that in the Garuda Purana, it would take me too long to find now, and I don't remember the detail, but it seemed as though it was mentioning simply that Brahmins, there are reactions to Brahmins after they die, which can be very serious. So in other words, the impression I got is that maybe a Brahmin is not punished so severely in this life, but he or she should know that punishment may await them in the next life, which may be more severe. Oh, did I say this? Sita Sundari is saying, what was the example you once mentioned about pouring liquid metal into the mouth of someone who is a Shudra trying to act like a Brahmana that's causing harm to others? I don't remember me talking about that. But maybe I did. And if I did, I don't remember what the context was. Sorry to say, except we might say that indeed in the Manu Samhita, I know there are descriptions of punishments, some of which seem really severe. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is mention of a punishment, and presumably this would have been for Brahmanas, a punishment for a Brahmin who is involved in interaction with an outcast, specifically in their society with Muslims, that one should drink hot ghee, a large quantity of hot ghee. The understanding being this is actually committing suicide. One will die as a result of this. And who is it? It's been so long since I read this. Someone can remind me. The devotee who was feeling that maybe he needs to do this. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no. Don't, you don't need to do that. Just chant Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, wasn't it in the story of Subudhi Roy?
Subhuti Rai, that sounds right. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Subhuti Rai. And the problem was something to do with his some connection with a Muslim, I think.
I think it was with his servant. His servant, I guess he beat his servant once, and then he became he was promoted to be some sort of a chief in the village.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Yeah, so
His
strange
wife
things.
wanted.
Yeah, these are, oh yeah, then the wife wanted to punish wanted to punish his, what was it, his teacher?
He was his master previously, and the wife, when she saw that, she
Yeah.
wanted him to be punished because he had done that to her
Oh,
husband,
yeah.
who wasn't her
Yeah.
husband. So they told him to drink hot ghee, I guess, and then
Yeah.
instead he went to Vrindavan and he served the Vaishnavas there.
Yes, that was it. Thank you. Madana Jivani remembers. Okay. Okay, somehow we got onto some strange topics here of punishment, various dark topics, I would say. But maybe now we could go back to, well, now my brain is going dysfunctional. Was it you, Rajali? No, it was Kavi Chandra. Kavi Chandra, you had a question. Do you want to speak your question, or do you want me to read what you sent to me? Maybe you're busy translating.
Well, you can read, I can translate, and then I can add something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. I have to shift here. And whoops, that's strange. Kavi Chandra. Okay, here we go. A controversy. Ta-da, we all love controversy, isn't it? Oh, there it is. At the time of lecture on occasion of Balaram Purnima, I proposed a guided meditation in a style I learned from a book on Kaizen, that involves all inner senses, not only to visualize, but also auditorize, smell, eyes, etc. So my suggestion was to imagine that we're in the spiritual world and we take part in Sri Balaram's birthday party, and someone asks us to offer him a garland. And we also see our spiritual master, or Srila Prabhupada, that is nodding with acceptance. And then we place that aromatic garland made of forest flowers. Then some devotees raised doubts whether it wasn't a kind of sahajiyism. There was a discussion on that topic with different arguments, but one devotee was still disturbed and convinced it wasn't bona fide. Can we somehow discuss it shortly today? Okay, and you want to add to that?
Well, I can just add that discussion was quite interesting. Some devotees said, but you know, Bhagavad Gita says, if you offer me flower, water, or, you know, then I will accept it. So, so if we accept garland made of flowers, so why Lord Balaram would not accept this, or why so? Because argument was that actually, and and my argument was that actually it is kind of manasa puja, when we can make offering in our mind. And then this devotee said that this is manasa puja is only for Brahmana devotees, for devotees with initiation that are allowed to be
Worship
involved
the
in
deity.
worship deities. Yes. So this discussion was going on, and it was kind of disturbance because it was at the time of Sunday, lecture, and some people were for the first time and were, I don't know. I don't know how to say,
Bewildered.
yeah, like this. So, but the main disturbance was that one devotee said, no, it's Srila Prabhupada never were giving such guided meditation or something like this. And I just thought about songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. One of the songs says that I give up proud that I'm
Pride.
pride that I am a man, and I just like to be, servant, manjari, etc.
Yeah.
But when we sing this song, it is inducing this visualization that I'm actually, I'm kind of gopi, that is serving other gopi to serve Krishna, Radha Krishna. So it's, it's very strong visualization and etc. So I don't think it's kind of sahajiya, or it's not something that is not in our tradition. It's so that's my thoughts. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, I was asked the same question a few days ago when I was in Nishantipur, and possibly it was the same devotee who challenged you. He asked in a very nice way, and it was not part of the group discussion. It was after I gave a lecture. Well, a couple of thoughts came to mind. One is the context in which you present such a thing. So you mentioned it was a Sunday feast. I can see why that would not be the right place to do that, because as you said yourself, there were new people who had no clue, and so it just may have been inappropriate in that regard. And then, yes, I was also thinking about songs from Bhaktivinoda Thakur and also Narottam Das Thakur, and I'm sure there's so many others that describe such what we may call visualizations. And indeed, I think they do, in an important way, invite us to visualize or audioize and so on. And yes, they seem to be some sort of like Manasa Puja. And this is something I tried to suggest in my book, Attending Krishna's Image, that although we make distinctions between vidhi and raga, that when you look more closely, you can't really separate them. That vidhi works with some elements of raga, and also raga works with some elements of vidhi. They're both sadhana bhakti. There's Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and there's raga anuga sadhana bhakti. Now, someone may still say, okay, but both of those are for initiated devotees, indeed second initiated, and so on. And so I think the general point we can take is, yes, these are matters of that we want to be cautious about. Not that we should ban these things forever and ever because they are part of our tradition, but we want to be cautious. And one way of being cautious in such a I'll just say visualization as an inclusive term. One way of being cautious, it seems to me, that could be more acceptable to those who might worry about sahajiyism, is that rather than, as you described, I have a garland and with the approval of my guru, I offer it to Balaram. You change the scenario slightly and you simply offer the garland in your meditation to your guru, who then takes it and offers it to Balaram. And that's the general understanding. It's one of the distinctions made in Braja Vrindavan. We understand there are the gopis and there are the manjaris, and the manjaris are assisting the gopis to serve Krishna. They themselves are never, to my understanding, directly serving Krishna. Of course, even that may be objected to. No, you're picturing yourself right in there, where you don't belong. And indeed, this is the issue. Where do we belong? And where is our appropriate place? And we can say, if we want to be more safe, that in a guided meditation, we meditate that we're doing all these services to the Lord, indeed, including direct services like bathing, dressing, etc., to the deity of the Lord. And with this, we can, we can be reminded that Krishna and his deity form are non-different, and our worship of the Lord in his deity form is aiming toward that realization, toward that understanding. Sita Sundari has a commentary. Once I asked my Guru Maharaj, who is Pir Krishna Goswami, I made a meditation in which I was combing Srimati Radharani's hair, making her beautiful for Krishna. I was not sure if this is proper or not by me to do so. He replied that it is completely fine because it is service and not me trying to enjoy it or put myself in the center. Yeah, so again, here I would say it's the guru advising the individual disciple privately. And he sees it, he recognizes in his disciple that she is doing this in the right mood, and therefore he's giving his approval. So that's another thing we see with Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Jaiva Dharma. He's interacting, or devotees, senior devotees, gurus interacting with disciples. And it's a highly individual thing. So I guess my general point would be maybe a good measure of caution is due when we're dealing with groups, public, especially in public, like a Sunday. A Sunday feast is semi-public, we may want to say. So these are my thoughts, but I want to say also, I think it's a kind of an ongoing issue because it's one of those things which is at the core of our tradition, where, as it's been said, at the core of tradition is an inner conflict, which can take various forms. And I think this is one of them, where there's an externality and there's an internality, and how do you connect, how do you relate these two, how do you foster appropriately the inner development? We don't want to deny the inner culture of Krishna consciousness, otherwise, what are we? We're just some superficial thing. We want the substance of Krishna Bhakti. How to do that? And that, we may say, can lead us into this discussion that I wanted to introduce today. So but before I do, Kavi Chandra, do you want to say something more?
No. Thank you very much for this explanation. I just the only thing is with Sunday feasts that 90% of people or 95% of people are all devotees, and there is usually maybe 1-2 guests, and especially when it's big festival like Balaram Purnima, for me is more inner thing. And of course, I also before this meditation, I believe I gave choice. You can take part in this or not. It's like this. So for some people it was strange, and they keep open eyes, and some people were closing eyes and went into this meditation. So yeah, but now I know we should be more careful with such intimate things. I also thought that it's like with 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's 10th canto, we should start with first canto, but Srila Prabhupada gave us also Krishna book, where there is in first part is Rasa Lila, and we are distributing those books on the street, directly, and it's so it's also this kind of discussion. Should we give people Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto? You just buy it for your kids. It's going. I don't know.
Nice stories for your kids.
Yeah. Kids are reading about rasa dance. It's so it's like I remember Krishna Dasa Kaviraja told that, okay, we are giving the most intimate knowledge now. If someone is not understanding, no problem, but then
he goes even further. He says, I am happy that they don't understand.
So yeah, I know that it's ongoing discussion, and we'll have this discussion, for forever and ever, in ISKCON especially.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Jai Ho. Okay. So now we have some more time. I want to first try to find a file which I want to share. Oops. And this may take a minute. The subject I want to talk about is Vaishnava Hermeneutics. And with the word hermeneutics, we already have a problem. And that is, what does that word mean? And a simple translation of the word is interpretation. It's the subject of interpretation, and it's usually associated with interpretation of written texts, but it's not limited to that. In the West, there's a very long history of discussion. And also in India, there's a long history of discussion. How do we interpret scripture? We read scripture, or we hear others read or recite scripture, and we understand it more or less. But are there ways to help us to interpret, to understand? Now, immediately a doubt can come that Srila Prabhupada many times said, there is no need of interpretation. The Bhagavad Gita, and this was in a sense, Prabhupada's core message about the Bhagavad Gita is that there is a way of reading it which is intended to be, and that is simply taking Krishna as actually having spoken the Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna actually having heard the Bhagavad Gita, and that Krishna is not being facetious, he's not being indirect in any way when he says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. Everything comes from me, everything expands from me. He's not just saying that, he's saying what is the actual fact and should be accepted as such. And so what does Prabhupada mean when he says, do not interpret, is don't give some unnecessary indirect meaning when the direct meaning is clear. That's a general, we can say a general hermeneutic principle. But in a more general way, we may need to say that we are interpreting all the time. Whenever anyone says something to us, Prabhu, can you please close the door? Pretty straightforward message, but we're taking that in a language that we understand, and somehow by a mental process we understand there's a request being made. I'm capable of fulfilling the request. Okay, so we get up and we close the door. And then we see whoever spoke to us that request looking satisfied, and we understand we've interpreted correctly. But it's possible to say, Prabhu, can you please close the door, and not really mean it. I can't think of an example at the moment, but someone might have another purpose. For example, now I'm using it as an example, so I'm not actually asking you to close the door. Okay. The point is just that we're always interpreting. We're interpreting words of others. We're interpreting what we read, what we hear. We're also interpreting physical signs. A stop sign says stop, and we respond by stopping our car, and so on. And so all of that goes within this big topic, hermeneutics. And I thought we can explore this topic because I've been involved in a project which has been commissioned by the GBC, a project to develop a course in Vaishnava Hermeneutics. And this course has been completed. The initial work on the subject began several years ago. I was not involved in the initial discussions, but the issue came up from the GBC that we find in Srila Prabhupada's books, in his recorded conversations, and sometimes his lectures, various statements which, for one reason or another, are difficult to accept or difficult to digest, or which we feel are politically inappropriate, things that we don't want to publicize because it could be an embarrassment for our mission. There's a fair number of such statements. Sometimes, generally, they have to do with social issues. They have to do with, identity, what nowadays is called identity politics and such. And so what to do with these statements? The GBC was asking. They said, people are coming to, devotees are coming to us. What do we do with these difficult statements? Some years ago, the BBT addressed this issue, and they commissioned articles to be written by specific devotees to address the specific issues. So some devotees were asked to write about what Srila Prabhupada said about women, especially when he says women are less intelligent. What do we do with a statement like that? And so I think at least two, maybe three articles were written by senior Vaishnavi devotees. Very nice articles. And there were other issues. One of the issues which I was asked to write about, and which I wrote a short article on, was statements by Srila Prabhupada about his godbrothers, some of which are not so complimentary. And so I wrote an article about that. And these articles were all posted on the internet by Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. They had within their website, they had a drop-down menu. I don't know what the general theme was, but they had something called tough ones. Tough means difficult. Tough ones. And that was there for I don't know, 2 or 3 years, but it was kind of hidden. I don't think most devotees even knew it existed, what to speak of wider congregation and so on. I don't think most devotees even knew it existed. There were altogether maybe 8, maximum 10 articles, I would say. At one point, all those articles disappeared from their website. And I noticed that. And I wrote to one of the devotees I know who works in the BBT, and I asked her what's happening. And she said, well, we're doing major renovation and reorganization of our website. And yes, eventually that's going to be reposted. Now, I haven't checked in the last few weeks, but I don't think it's there yet. I think they're trying to reconceptualize certain things in fairly major ways. So they're taking their time. Here, the point is just that this was an initial attempt by the BBT to address what they saw as difficult statements of Shastra. And now I'm using the word Shastra in the broader sense of, here we may want to say, Guru Sadhu Shastra. And I use that in the broader sense because that's how we are using it in this course on hermeneutics. Shastra being inclusive of the statements of our acharyas and, yeah, we may say sadhus broadly. So, yeah, then the GBC commissioned a committee of devotees. They met a few times and they wrote a quite extensive paper. But then what to do with that paper? I think it was 70 pages long, single-spaced. And it was so long that it was too much for many of the GBC members who are very busy people. And the fact that it wasn't even being read by the GBC was kind of frustrating to those who were on that committee. And in any case, where do we go from here? So then it was, then everything was handed over to the Shastra Advisory Council, of which I'm an associate member. There are about 16 of us members altogether, full-time, or not full-time, but full members. There are, I don't know, 6 or 8 anyway, and then the rest of us are associate members. And then the idea came after lots and lots of discussion that what would be good is to have a course so that devotees in general can learn something about how we may best deal with difficult subjects, difficult topics, and more broadly about how to apply Shastra in our personal lives, in our lives amongst each other, amongst devotees, and and in the representation, the presentation of Krishna consciousness to the wider world, the preaching of Krishna consciousness to others. Now, one could at this point say, well, what is the need of this? After all, we have Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru, and it's the business of the Guru to do any clarification of Shastra. We simply ask Guru. And Guru will tell us, and then everything is clear. Well, yes and no. The no part is for two reasons. One is we have kind of uncharted territory. We have now a worldwide institution, whereas previously you had, an ashram with a few brahmacharis and the guru of those few brahmacharis and their householder followers in the community around in the village. And then everything was simple. But what do you do when you have an international, a world, a global society, and we're trying to sing the same song, and we're trying to share the same song with everyone, so that everyone can benefit and become Krishna conscious. We want to have this. We want to have the same message. So that is one issue. Another is the modern world. So much of Shastra, so much of Shastra is eternally, clearly applicable because it is eternal, because it is teaching eternal truth. The application in modern times can be especially challenging for a number of reasons, which could be another subject. But specifically, what is called modernity has as a prominent feature the rejection of the idea of divine revelation. That's we're in a world in which the notion of divine revelation has pretty much, not entirely by any means, but to a large extent within spheres of, let's say, the people who consider themselves educated, is rejected. And then endless implications of that. Okay, that's another talk, but challenges are there. Another point is that within the tradition, not just Vaishnava, but Vedic, broadly speaking, going back many centuries, there is a discourse of how do we interpret Vedic literature. And you could say the more formal ways this has been structured is in the various what have come to be called darshanas. Most specifically, the Purva Mimamsa and the Uttara Mimamsa traditions. Purva Mimamsa, sometimes called Karma Mimamsa, where Mimamsa, the word can simply mean deliberation, or we could translate it as hermeneutics, because especially the Purva Mimamsa is concerned with how to interpret Vedic literature, the literature of the Rig, Sama, Yajur, Atharva Veda, of the Shrota Sutras, the Brahmanas, the works that, deal with deal with sacrifice, especially. And then the Uttara Mimamsa, more commonly known as Vedanta, is about how do we interpret the Upanishads to understand what is Brahman, what is ultimate reality. So that's also hermeneutics. Still, one might object, do we have to use this Western word, this Greek origins word, hermeneutics? Maybe not. I don't remember all the reasons that we concluded, but it seemed like the convenient word to use because it is, it's commonly known in the West for, at least for people who deal with theology and philosophy and such. So anyway, we've been using this word. Okay, now, as I said, we created a course and we've also given the course online so far twice. It's been done in the form of 6 or is it 8 altogether lessons. Each lesson has been 1.5 to 2 hours, and they've been done online with using Zoom. And the course has gone very well. These were pilot, you can say, experimental presentations, and different members of the Shastra Advisory Council, we call ourselves the SAC for short, have given individual lessons. And I've given one of the lessons both times. And I participated only very partially in the preparation of the course, the materials for the course. But it just, I felt like after all the work that we went through, the SAC has gone through, I kind of feel like sharing this with all of you. And initially you may feel like, well, what does this have to do with me? And if that's the case, well, I'm sorry, but maybe it will spark your interest. And what I'm also hoping, as I think you know, I'm always trying to encourage all of you to read, especially Srila Prabhupada's books. What you may find is that as we go through, I'm not even decided that we go through the course in the strictly formal way that we've given, but as I go through and show and share with you some of the material, you may find this an inspiration to then go back and do and read more, seeing that, aha, so now there's a way that we can really look closely at what we're reading and relate it to other things that we've read and really deal with issues that come up in my own life and among devotees and in relation to the wider world. Okay, with that long-winded introduction, now I want to share my screen to show you something. And we can go through it briefly. This is a kind of fun little chart as a very preliminary introduction of the process that we came up with. Can you all see this? Okay, my sign says you can see. Okay, so we're starting with the top left. Here we are, this, if you can see my arrow, here we all are. Maybe we're not bare-headed with Sika, but we have all these question marks exploding out of our head, wanting to understand and explain a statement from Sadhu Shastra Guru. How to do it? First, we go to the next image, engaging in sadhana bhakti to gain the mercy of good character and qualities. So we understood step one in all of this is we have to have the right culture. That actually understanding Shastra is part of a culture. And that's what we are all doing when we hear from day one that we have 4 regulative principles to follow, and we hear of the practice of sadhana bhakti and so on. So first thing we want to look at is our own sadhana. And if our own sadhana is, we may say shabby, you may not know that word. If it's not very strong, or if it's very weak, then it may be a legitimate question to ask ourselves, well, then how can I expect to understand this, what I'm reading? How can I expect to clearly understand and we can say properly in a devotional way understand this? But okay, I'll get my sadhana in shape, I'll get it up to standard, and then I will go to the hermeneutics school. And there, first thing I'll do is study and imbibe the principles of Vaishnava Hermeneutics. And what I'll show later is we identified, I think that's 6 character features which are necessary for going any further with hermeneutics. 6 aspects of character that we want to have, we want to pursue. And we identified 24 principles that we need to further pursue hermeneutics, to further pursue understanding of Shastra. And we identified, I would have made this chart slightly different, but we would have we did identify in the SAC work, we identified 40, that's 40 tools for use in the process of analyzing, of working out, of understanding Shastra. Okay, so we're going into this place where we learn principles and tools. All right, so we've got some familiarity with the principles and the tools, and then we come out prepared with good qualities, with an awareness of the principles and of the tools. And now what do? We embark on what we called a hermeneutic path. And the hermeneutic path has 3 steps. The first step is assessing our own mood, mentality, purpose, and qualifications in relation to a particular statement in Shastra that we want to engage with, we want to wrestle with. Assessment means we are, gauging, we are measuring in a sense, we're being honest with ourselves. Do I have the favorable mood? Do I have the right mentality? What is my purpose? in doing this? You know, do I just want to show off, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, with my knowledge? Or do I have a deeper purpose? And so on. And then step 2 is going to the principles. And I mentioned there are 24 of them. And we'll get to that in due course. There are 24 principles. And I want to take this statement that I'm wrestling with, working with, and see how it relates with these principles. With respect to a purpose, an ultimate purpose, which is to understand in terms of siddhanta. Siddhanta is a technical term used not only by Vaishnavas, but all traditional Indian philosophers, all, at least most. It means conclusion, conclusive truth. The end, literally, siddha anta, the end perfection, we may say. And then, armed with the right mood and purpose and so on, and with principles that are appropriate to pursuing the siddhanta, then we may go to appropriate tools that help us further clarify. I might mention generally the principles are generally in the form of statements, and the tools are typically in the form of questions. And all of this is, it has a linearity to it. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and then hopefully, bling, everything becomes clear. However, one of the principles, and this is the one that I wrote on, is that there's something called ambiguity. Something may have a sort of inbuilt lack of clarity. It may have double meaning. Our acharyas, the commentaries of our acharyas often celebrate the ambiguity in Shastra to draw out different meanings. And they'll say it can mean like this, but it can also mean like something else. It's not only one meaning. Right, so maybe I should stop here for now at least and see if there's any question about any of this so far. Yeah, I'll leave this chart here for a minute. I think at this point, everybody is a little bit stunned, like, okay. Hey, Mangi Gopi, you want to ask something? Yes, please. Do you want to speak? Do I have to turn off the shared screen in order to hear? I don't know. Don't quite. Anyway, I'll turn it off.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My obeisances, Maharaj.
Hare.
Thank you so much. This is really inspiring to me, and I'm very interested in this. And I really find very relevant for my spiritual progress and understanding and proper interpretation. And actually, I would like to comment something, but also would like to ask how we can get information about enrollment, where we can like find that information about the date, the way how to enroll, because I would definitely would like to enroll in the near future. And this is very relevant to what I'm researching right now. And it is like cognitive anthropology, which actually explores the way of cognition, empirical way of cognition, the things. And then some very interesting cognitive anthropologists are researching on different belief systems. And they said that the different belief systems are not different religious denominations, but also like political belief systems and academic belief system, and then different denomination belief system, because everywhere somebody believe in something. Someone believe in democracy, or I don't know, some academics in some theory and things. So then they did very interesting researching on how the people, how they are like, they try to check that what people they claim that they believe, whether they believe that actually. So they asked them about God, like to explain how they do believe in God. So what God possess, how they explain, how they, and then most of these interviews, people, actually they said that God is omnipotent, that he is always everywhere, that he is aware of everything and he knows everything and like that. And then they use different methods to still check whether they really do believe that. And then they like find out that these people actually interpreted God in completely different way, like every normal common people, like they, and then they said that like God is doing the things one by one, like we, like he did something, then he goes somewhere else, do something else. So then the conclusion, they realized that people actually do not believe what they think they believe. So, and this is really relevant to that, because if we want to interpret something in some way, we also try to believe in that way. So that's really connected, and that's why I'm really interested in this. So that will be also, that could help me to with my researching and also with my proper understanding of Shastras. So thank you so much. And if you can provide this information, how to enroll, I would like in near future, definitely enroll in this course.
Okay. You may be not the only one amongst all of us here. So I can keep you all informed, I would say. At this point, as far as I know, there's a plan that they will have again a course, go through the course in October or November. But as I remember, their specific aim is to bring the course to ISKCON leaders in India. And the reason they're interested in that is because some of the ISKCON leaders in India have expressed doubts about the course, saying, you know, oh, this is some Western concoction. So the idea is, okay, well, you know, give it a fair shake, go through the course and then decide, rather than just, you know, guessing that it must be a Western thing. I mean, the members of the SAC are not all Western. There are, I think, 5 or 6 Indian devotees, very learned devotees, I must say. But anyway, that's just a footnote. But I'll make sure that when the course is available, you'll know about it one way or another.
Thank you so much. And then you mentioned your article, your paper. Can you just give me a title, give us a title so that I can find?
My article within this course, you mean?
Yes, which was published.
I provided a link to this on chat, because it's not available directly on the site, on the page, but it's in web archives So I provided a link in on
Oh,
chat.
that article.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
this was about Srila Prabhupada's statements about his godbrothers. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, that's interesting about what is it called? Cognitive anthropology. This is one of the tricks, by the way, of how to get ahead in the academy, is just create a whole new field of study, and then but then you have to create a journal that goes with it.
Yeah, but this is really connected because these cognitive anthropologists, they claim that we have like different generation are transmitting the message, and sometimes this like interpretation is also important, and then someone sometimes misinterprets something and other people accept that, and that become like tradition and things. It's very related. So yeah.
Yeah. Somebody puts a cat into a basket in the wedding ceremony and then goes like that. And as far as, belief, you mentioned everyone is believing something.
Yeah.
Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, what is it? Shraddha mayo young purusho yo yat shraddha sa eva sa. Everybody has shraddha. It's just a matter of the mixture of the modes.
Yes. And then when this journalist asked this anthropologist, so what's the commonality between these different belief systems? He said most probably frustration and then, motivation in general.
Yeah, they can only think of mundane
Yeah.
ideas. Thank you. Divyambara. You'll have to unmute yourself first.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Hare Krishna, Dandavat,
Hare
everybody.
Krishna.
I thank you for the very interesting discussion. I was just wondering if sadhana is one of the main prerequisites for understanding Shastra. How can we distribute Shastra worldwide in large quantities? So I remember when I first read Sri Ishopanishad in Bulgarian, I couldn't understand anything.
Yeah.
And I think also the translation was not very good, but I was extremely attracted to the text. And this is what brought me to Krishna consciousness. So to what extent, how does it work? We distribute the books to people who don't practice or don't have any sadhana. What is the expectation? To what extent do we expect them to understand something?
Yeah.
And to interpret it correctly?
Yeah. Good question. I would say a couple of things. Well, first I will say that's also my experience with people who have gotten our books and then they come to us and say, I don't understand a word what you're talking about. I mean, even my own father, I sent him a copy of not one of Prabhupada's books, but my book on deity worship, Attending Krishna's Image. And he laughed and said, well, I read a page or maybe 2 pages. He said, I understood the words, but I had no idea what you're talking about. So yeah, that's there. And I remember years ago, one journalist lady came to interview me. She had read as carefully as she could the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then she came with many questions, nice questions. And And I, gave answers as best I could. And she was saying, oh, okay, now I start to understand. So I think our main aim when we're distributing books is to catch those souls who will say, well, I don't really get what's going on here, but I do get it that something's going on here that I want to know more about. Let me go meet the devotees and find out what they're actually saying. Occasionally, you meet someone who says, yeah, I read, Isha Upanishad and I decided, yes, this is it. And they come and they join the temple. That's it. A possible analogy just occurred to me when I was a small child. My father was in the military, which meant there was a kind of social obligation, and he was anyway inclined. He was a quite sociable person to have dinner guests, and they were also in the military. And so they would come, the guests would come, and there would be all of this chitter and chatter discussion, and they would bring their kids and, okay, go and play with the kids because that's what we do. And maybe that's fun for a while, but then at some point I remember I used to like to come and just sit and listen to the grown-ups talk. And I had no idea what they were talking about, but I just really liked listening to them because it sounded like it must be something intelligent. And I wanted to just kind of be a part of that. Maybe you've had this experience when you were kids also. Yeah. So we distribute the books and people read and they go, wow, this is something, I don't know what they're saying, but it sure is special. So let me find out more. And I would even go further and suggest that now we may claim we understand what we're reading, but maybe somewhere down the line, we'll come back and read the same and we'll feel like, wow, I really didn't understand this before at all. I thought I was, but now I get it.
Yeah, it happens every time.
Yeah, every time. Yeah, and therefore reading and then rereading and then rereading. It's called religious reading, or we may want to call it spiritual reading. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, we just have a few more minutes. Dear Lalita.
Yes, very much. Hi, Krishna. I have written a question, but I've missed out a word, and it doesn't make any sense.
Oh.
So it's. I was just wondering. It says the values in time when shastras are written or spoken by Vyasadeva were different in the sense that the culture of people at that time was different than values in social and economical and theological values today. So there are like sort of two questions intertwined. One is were there hermeneutics in time of Vyasadeva, or also I was thinking in time when Vyasadeva had spoken or written Bhagavad Purana, were there people who actually didn't understand what he was talking about, or were there people as special as nowadays in order to get in touch with the spiritual teachers and find out about the message of God?
Yeah, nice question. And I think what I would like to say is, in a sense, for us, Vyasadeva is the primordial hermeneut. or practitioner of hermeneutics. Vyasa, the word, means divide. So he divided, or analysis, he divided the Veda into 4 with the purpose of making it more accessible. And then, and I'm speaking from the traditional perspective, then he composed the Mahabharata. Still not satisfied, he composed which came first? Anyway, Mahabharata, Brahma Sutras. Not satisfied, then Narada confirmed what he suspected, and then he composed the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is, we can say, an interpretation of Veda. It is drawing, it is bringing together. Well, the Bhagavatam itself says this is the ripened fruit of the Veda. But one can also take the Bhagavatam as a commentary on Veda, broadly speaking, and more specifically on Vedanta, because it's understood that way by our acharyas. And although I don't think our acharyas say this explicitly, it's a commentary on the Mahabharata. And I've written one article on that, how the Bhagavatam is a commentary on the Mahabharata. So hermeneutics all the way down, like the joke goes, turtles all the way down. You may not know that joke, but the teacher of Hinduism was explaining that according to Vedic literature, the world is supported by elephants in the 4 or 8 directions. And a student asked, so what are the elephants standing on? Well, they're standing on turtles. And what are the turtles standing on? Another set of turtles. And then he just wanted to end the class. He said, it's turtles all the way down. So it's hermeneutics all the way down.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Okay.
So
thank you all.
You're just continuing for what Vyasa started a long time ago.
Well, we're all continuing. Yeah, our acharyas are continuing, and we're trying to see how best, for our society to continue the practice. And really, this is the point, is to develop a culture in which there is thoughtful, sattvic discussion of Shastra, not grabbing a quote here and a quote there and throwing it at someone who doesn't agree with you about something. That would be the misuse of Shastra, and that in itself is a big topic, and we can talk about that. The use and misuse of Shastra. Shastra, if it's misused, can be very dangerous. Okay, on that note, Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful week. Chanting, reading, writing. I'm sorry, I meant to ask, I think at least one of you wanted to share your ekphrasis that we didn't get to last time, but we can do it next time. Yes, all the best. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Oh, and one more thing I was going to announce. Are they still with us? I wanted you all to welcome with a Hari a hearty Haribol. There they are. Amrita Lahari Devi Dasi and Vrajaduta Gopal Das, who received their first initiation, what was it? Just a little less than 2 weeks ago. They're still in transit now to North Poland. So please offer your Hari Hari Bols and welcomes to them.
Haribol!
Haribol! Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Okay, so one day we'll all be together somewhere. We can have a big party.
Yes.
Yeah. Madana Jivani says, yes, let's do it in Mayapur, right? Okay, thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev.
You read my mind.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Kelly.
Haribol.